What's going on, everybody? This is Splitintwo coming at you guys with another little tutorial or questions asked. A lot of you guys asked me how I get my claims so flat, and maybe the methods that we teach to do so. As you can tell, they're not really flat. They're flat enough to get the work done that we need and operate on top of these benches with the heavier equipment that is very large. It is kind of deceiving, as you can tell, but this is an 8,000 excavator, and you can tell that the ground is kind of bumpy, but it doesn't really matter. You can still get the job done, and the whole purpose is so that way we can work, but not spend countless hours of time trying to get things ultra flat when they don't need to be anyways, and they're just going to be ripped up in the next bench that we take out. But we're going to go ahead and teach you guys some of the basic tricks on how to accomplish some flat-ish ground with using a few gimmick tactics, or using just the raw equipment and as well as GPS. But as long as you can fill a truck from the top, that's all that really matters most of the time. Here we have the largest loader in the game. We're going to use this as the demonstration because it's a little easier to see because it's larger. So we're going to go ahead and plug this thing in, and we're going to go ahead and drive on top of, floor tiles. It's kind of self-explanatory because you see a lot of players doing this because it's hard for them to keep the ground flat, or what they call it cratering, where they just can't control it. But we're going to show you guys, using floor tiles. Or you could even use blocks if you want to. If your guys' loaders are getting stuck inside them, blocks will kind of help you with that. But here we're just going to show you guys the floor tiles, right? So really, obviously simple, self-explanatory method of just using the floor tiles to guide you on keeping things straight and level. Like I said, you see a lot of players doing this. There's no shame in this at all. If this is how you have to operate to get the game to the way you need it and keep the ground relatively flat or smooth, go for it. There's nothing stopping you, and there's no shame, like I was saying. It's relatively easy. Obviously, just lay some floor tiles down and just start snapping along, and you can see how quickly you can easily keep along with that. Or you could even be more aggressive with the cutting angle of the bucket and just gouge it as flat as you want. There is no real precision needed with using this technique. So that's why it's one of the most preferred methods that you see a lot of players using. As you see right there, took a little bit more of an aggressive cut. And we'll get out and take a look at this here in a second. So that way you can just kind of see how you place some more tiles in, snap them on in, and then you just keep going. There's no real thought needed unless you mess up a brick. Make sure you snap it in. Right, you just keep rocking along. It's like I said, it's very no brainer. It works. It gets the job done. You can mine very quick. You can also throw some more dirt in on the ground and scrape it up later if you want the tiles below to be even smoother. But this is, like I said, this is one of the preferred methods that a lot of players use. Now, if you're a realism player, this may not be something that your cup of tea, right? But don't worry, we're going to show you guys some techniques that you guys can adopt really quickly. We teach all of our players that come into play multiplayer with us how to mine this way. But I just want to kind of go over some of the other basics first because, we can't overlook some things. But floor tiles is a very viable method of using the front end loader. Okay, we have some basics here. First, we're going to show you without the GPS. Basic mechanic. We're going to drop it where the bucket goes all the way down, hits the bottom, and you can see the compression lift up off the tires a little bit. We're going to drop this all the way down until we kind of tap. In multiplayer, you'll actually see it move material. In single player, it's a little bit more tighter. But we're just going to move in and take our first scoop. You will naturally start to raise because we're not at the correct angle. You can't see it because I'm not in GPS, but I'll show you that. This is just core fundamentals we're teaching here. So we're going to keep repeating that until we remove enough. So you're just going to want to start from a relatively flat plane to begin with. Drop the knuckle all the way down until it hits and slide it in. Right there. See, so you can see it again. And you just come back in. Be slow. There's no hurry. Speed is the enemy when it comes to using the loader until you get good at it. Repetitive motion, skill, and then you can get there. So keep it slow at start. Keep your stuff good to go, and you won't create divots. Okay. Now we're going to show you guys how to use the GPS. First off, you're going to need to buy a GPS. Where do you get those? You're going to go into the store. You're going to go type in GPS, and the GPS will pop up. Make sure you buy one of those, and it'll show up in your inventory. I already had one in there, so good to go. And then when you're in the world, jump into your piece of equipment, and then go ahead and press I on your keyboard. and then it'll open up your inventory. Drag one of these into your equipment slot in your light slot. Any one of them works. It doesn't matter. As long as you're in the equipment tab. It's in there. Go ahead and exit out. And you will see that now you have the GPS HUD in your upper right-hand corner. But you're like, well, what the hell? Why is the red line not moving? Isn't that supposed to be the floor plane? You're correct. How do you go about changing that? First off, you're going to need to go into your settings. You're going to need to go out to controls. You're going to need to hit controls, and then go to vehicle. Scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to see one called vehicle set GPS. Set this to whatever you want. I just set mine to middle mouse button click, and then make sure you hit save. So as you see, you have the red line, then you have the white line where the bucket's at. So what you're going to do is you're going to want to do the same technique as before, but you're going to decompress the bucket off of the ground fully. So that way it's kind of floating above the ground. You're going to make sure you have the right angle. And then you're going to kind of flatten your bucket out a little bit. And then you're going to hit that button that you already bound. That's going to set your floor plane level. That way you have a reference on if you're low or high by the centimeters above. So you can see as I push in, I'm raising up because there was a natural slope. All right, so now I'm 26 to 30 centimeters high right here. Now I'm up to 60. Okay, and you can see the white line is way above the red line in all aspects. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up and you see how it balanced out. Now you see I have a 0.2 degree angle. If I push in here, it's going to do what? It's going to start slicing a little bit off at a time. And then we start going back up the hill and so on and so forth. So how do you correct that? Very, 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 very simple. You just change the angle of your blade to be a little bit more and lift the bucket up a little higher, but you have to be careful. Very careful. As you can see how I have my bucket tilted down there, and then on the back, it tips past the actual red line. So we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to come in for this next cut. We're going to drop our bucket and we're going to tilt it in until you see the red line meet the white line like that. A little bit more. So it's in the back, right? We're going to lift up and then we're going to go a little aggressively. Now you can see where the white line actually intersects with the red line. We're going to go a little bit below it at pretty much at a 0.1 angle. And then I'm going to push in. We're going to do it so slowly you guys can see. I'm actually going to go a little bit below that. See how a minus 3 centimeters? That is okay. A minus 10 centimeter difference will be nothing when you go to roll it or slap it with a shovel. So as long as you keep it within a tolerance of 10 centimeters plus or minus, you're fine. Now, when you're gouging massive holes, that's going to be a problem. So just remember, keep that white line, no matter where it's at on there, not too far intersected below at a right angle. And you should be okay, as long as you follow some of those very fundamental, simple things. The GPS can be very complicated with the dozer and things like that. I'll go over a separate video with that. But using the loader, if you start from a flat place, you'll end up with a flat place if you follow these techniques and you go slow. So hopefully this helped you guys. I didn't want to go in depth, super hardcore. I wanted to keep it short. Doesn't need to be complicated. Make sure you guys leave a comment. Much love, everybody. Thank you guys very much for watching.